Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Moore. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, time for another transfer portal show. It feels like the tide has kind of turned. We've sort of stopped doing, for the most part, the tide is going out transfer portal shows, and now we're doing the tide is coming in transfer portal shows. And this is going to be a familiar name for at least the top 15 or so percent of Ohio State fans in terms of how much attention they pay during the offseason. There will be a quiz.
Yeah, yes, there will be. Make sure you're taking notes. John Walker, Central Florida defensive tackle, has committed to Ohio State. He is a redshirt sophomore this year. 40 tackles on the season, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 4 quarterback hurries, a forced fumble, 6 foot, 324 pounds. And as Tom said, if the name sounds familiar, it was because Ohio State was very, very involved in recruiting him back in 2023 when he was a top 100 player out of Osceola High School in Kissimmee, Florida, and had offers from everybody: Miami, Ohio State, Florida, Michigan, and then basically decided to stay home and go to UCF, where Tommy was a freshman All American and then suffered a knee injury as a sophomore. And now a redshirt sophomore has 2 years of eligibility remaining. This is a little bit like Antoine Jackson a few years back, where Ohio State, I don't know how much contact Larry Johnson kept in touch, but a name that there is familiarity to, a comfort level there, and now he's going to be a Buckeye.
Yeah, and you got to remember this was outside of Larry Johnson, a somewhat different coaching staff back then because this was, he was a 2023 recruit, which means he was getting recruited during the 2022 season, which was the first year of the Jim Knowles defense. And you can sort of think back and it's like, yeah, that was a while ago, as it turns out, Jim Knowles' first year. But he was, this is someone who is at least some, obviously knows Ryan Day and knows the Ohio State program. And, they've changed some things at the Woody since then, but, we'll probably be able to find his way around the building at the Woody without too much trouble. So, I think this is kind of a little bit of a model for what recruiting in high school can be in some ways, where you don't get the guy coming out of high school, but you part on good terms and you sort of keep, maybe there's you can sort of keep an eye on him moving forward, and then if he goes back in the portal, then hey, you can send the hey, remember us kind of text, and already have his number and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit of a model where this is the old success is never final and failure is never fatal. Like, that has never been more true than it is in recruiting these days.
Yeah, it's the "you up" text, and John Walker's like, "Sure, sure, what's going on?"
I wasn't gonna say that, Tony. Goodness, he committed in the middle of the morning, Tony. I'm sure it was at a decent hour.
And as a true freshman, he started a handful of games, 24 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, half sack, 1 pass breakup, 2 quarterback hurries. He's a mobile big man, and this past season started every game for UCF. Next to somebody even bigger, like 6'6", 340 pound Horace Lockett, who was also in the portal, but then went back, decided to go back to UCF. And I think Ohio State was talking to both guys, and Tom, this is now the second UCF player that Ohio State has landed in the portal, joining Dalton Riggs, the long snapper. They got the pipeline going from Ohio State to Central Florida at this point. But in terms of what John Walker brings to the Buckeyes, Ohio State is still waiting on word from Caden McDonald what he's going to do. We know Tywan Malone is off to whatever is next for him. He's hoping for the NFL, of course. Whether Caden McDonald comes back or not, this is something that Ohio State had to do just to continue to bring in proven defensive tackles, because they don't have a lot of those. They're I would say bottom heavy at this point in terms of what they've got, and not a lot of experience there. Edric Houston may end up being their most experienced guy, and Will Smith. So those are the top 2 guys if we're assuming Caden McDonald is off. But even if he comes back, this now gives you a fourth guy with experience that you can rely on And sure, you'd love to see a Jason Moore or somebody like a Jarquez Carter pop up, but this guy gives you some experience, but also some positional flexibility as well.
Yeah, at 320, he could certainly play nose if they need him to, and they can, you have seen him play three tech. As you said, he was playing next to a 340-pound guy, so that was very clearly not just he can't play nose. Like, he's not 340 pounds, and that is a hard thing to make up for. But yeah, he's someone who, again, you're just sort of looking to raise the floor here. Could he be fantastic? Sure, absolutely. But really, this is just all about get another proven body on campus, get another guy who you know what you're going to get, where you're not saying, well, if he can take another step forward in spring ball, you've got to sort of know. Because we'll see on Caden McDonald. I think it would be a little bit of a pleasant surprise if they got Caden McDonald back. I think you would certainly assume he's probably more likely to head to the NFL than not. And if he does, then you really do just have a couple guys who you've seen sort of do it on the college level and not completely light the world on fire, but at least be solid, reliable guys who you can get good snaps out of. And this, John Walker brings them another guy who you can get that. And I think this is another, this is probably the third straight commitment that for Ohio State in the portal where people are going to go, well, that's not Caleb Downs. And yeah, it's not always going to be Caleb Downs. Sometimes it's just you've got to get a guy so that you have people who can play at this level, who are veteran guys, and especially in the trenches. Take a second and go through Indiana's roster, and Indiana's roster Indiana's roster in general, extremely, extremely veteran and extremely veterans who have played a lot of college football, and especially veterans who have played a lot of college football in the trenches. That's what John Walker is. This will be his fourth year of college football. Missed one with a knee injury, but was good enough to play and get some recognition as a true freshman, which is not easy in the defensive line, and then had another really solid year as a junior. This is not going to be the one that is, leading Sports Center or whatever tonight, but it is potentially a really, really important one, because these are the boxes you got to check to, it is not going to be Caleb Downs every time. It's not going to be Julian Sayin every time. These are the boxes you've really got to check in the trenches in order to win football games.
This is very similar to Tywan Malone stepping up this year and being something that you didn't expect. And so right away, it seems like John Walker could be that guy, because when you look at Ohio State played 4 defensive tackles this year: Caden McDonald, Edric Houston, Tywan Malone, Will Smith. Each of those guys, Will Smith was the bottom in terms of the number of snaps. He had 223. That was exactly half of what Caden McDonald had. Tywan Malone had 298. Edric Houston had 323. The fifth guy is Jarquez Carter with 51 snaps, which is the same number of snaps that one of them, Caden McDonald, played against Indiana, and he played 55 against Miami. So Jarquez Carter's season total was a game total for Caden McDonald. And then you have Jason Moore at 43. And then you have Eric Mensah, who had 12 snaps. All 12 of them came against Grambling State. Trajan Odom was the only other defensive tackle to play. He had 10 snaps. 7 of those came against Grambling State. And so you look at this, and there's 4 guys that I mentioned with a total of about 110 snaps. And and I think 9 tackles total from those 4 guys this past season. And that's just not where you want to be. And so they brought in more than insurance. I think they brought in somebody that is going to be one of those top 3 or 4 defensive tackles. Could be number 1. We don't know, just based on what the rest of the situation looks like. So there you go. Big time defensive tackle coming in for Ohio State. Everybody wanted him out of high school. Ohio State gets him out of UCF eventually. 2 years of eligibility remaining. And don't worry, this will not be the last transfer that they bring in. They are still out there looking for receivers, possibly looking for running back. Who knows what they're looking for on the offensive line. Certainly still looking for some secondary help as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. We'd appreciate that. Hit the bell to be notified, because we'll be dropping more videos talking about targets, talking about people they're landing, all sorts of stuff during this entire month of transfer portal chaos. And of course, you can find the Buckeye Weekly Podcast and all of your podcast platforms of choice. Also, Tom's Buckeyes tomorrow morning. And you can continue to find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. So that will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.